There was a time, not that long ago, when you could throw a dart at the rock landscape and hit a band doing high-energy, riff-driven barroom rock. In the 1970s, AC/DC were part of a huge family tree that included Aerosmith, Thin Lizzy, ZZ Top, Kiss, Montrose, Cheap Trick, Van Halen, and on and on. But today, that genre is basically a preserved fossil, and AC/DC is the only Tyrannosaurus still walking around the block. They're not evolving, they're not genre blending, they're not chasing trends. They're AC/DC, and that's their entire business model. Which is why the question, are they over, is interesting, because the biggest threat to AC/DC isn't their chronological age, it's that the musical world around them has moved on. This is crucial, and it's why AC/DC's future feels uncertain, and why it's not just about AC/DC, but about this kind of good time, party, hard rock music at all. AC/DC wasn't just a band, they were a culture, a pipeline of energy that fans plugged themselves into. They had a huge following that was based around the idea of raising hell, having fun, and forgetting about your problems. And music was part of all that, but the culture and the fan connection was the glue. And that culture and fan connection is becoming harder and harder to maintain because live music culture is shrinking, rock radio is virtually gone, younger fans engage differently with legacy acts, the internet rewards novelty, not consistency, and the band's own internal lineup has dramatically shifted over the years. AC/DC was always built on a connection between the band and their fans, but both sides of that equation have aged, changed, and fragmented. So let's address the elephant in the room. Some AC/DC fans believe the band is too old to even perform live. You see a lot of comments like this every time AC/DC announces a new tour. They're too old, it's not the same without Malcolm, Brian sounds worn out, it's just Angus and some hired guns now. And then you have the opposing viewpoint, which is, I'd crawl through broken glass to see AC/DC no matter what the lineup was. They are the last great rock band, and Angus still brings it better than most players half his age. Fan base is kind of divided, and maybe more than they've ever been. For some, AC/DC's age is a badge of honor, and for others, it's a deal breaker. And both sides are reacting to the same thing. The mythology of youth in rock is disappearing. AC/DC was built on raw physicality and high voltage energy. Aging hits that harder than, say, it hits a player like Elton John. This part is unavoidable. Angus Young is basically the last original member of the band. Yes, Brian Johnson is there, but he was a second era addition. Bill Rudd has faded in and out. Cliff Williams retired and then unretired. And Stevie Young has stepped in for Malcolm. The DNA of the original band no longer exists. And there's a philosophical question at the center of all of this, which is this type of music disappearing altogether? The tension of old and new fuels the perception that the band is either on its last legs or has completely transcended the idea of aging and has become something more like a elemental brand, a musical institution that kind of outlives the people who even created it. So, despite all of these challenges, the age, the lineup changes, the fading of guitar-driven rock, AC/DC still feels unstoppable. Why? 1. Their sound never depended on trend. 2. The band is unified around a single mission to make hard, simple, fun rock music. 3. They're still selling out stadiums. Even with the age debate, the demand to see AC/DC is huge. 4. New fans keep discovering them. 5. Malcolm's myth has grown. And 6. They're now part of a global, quote, dad culture, end quote. And this matters because kids absorb AC/DC the way earlier generations absorbed the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, through parents, sports arenas, and movie soundtracks, sometimes a video game. AC/DC is part of the world's background mythos. This makes them very, very hard to kill. So here's the honest answer. AC/DC is over as a living, evolving band. Their creative peak is clearly behind them. Their cultural ecosystem has shrunk. The lineup is down to one founding member. But AC/DC is absolutely not over as a cultural force. In fact, they might outlive every band of their generation because AC/DC is no longer just a musical act, they're a template. A template for energy, a template for simplicity, a template for rock's original purpose. Turn it up, feel alive, forget everything bad for 3 or 4 minutes. As long as people want that feeling, AC/DC will keep resurrecting, and if Angus is the last one carrying the torch, it won't really matter. So what do you think? Do you think AC/DC is a legacy act on borrowed time, or the most unkillable band in the history of rock? Let me know in the comments below.
MusicGuru here, asking you to help us on our march to 10,000 subscribers.